All right, good morning, good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show. Interesting read on my text line. I understand the Mississippi State fans and alums that are like, dude, I knew we weren't going to be good, but I didn't know we were going to be this bad. Okay, fair enough. And you have better talent than what has been displayed on the field. Now, this week, a little bit skewed because you had you don't have a talented defensive line, but everybody was out. But still, again, Bobby Petrino, he did what he wanted. But, Sam Pittman kind of told you the deal in the post-game press conference, didn't he? Do we have the Elko audio? All right, I want to drop that in a minute. But Pittman basically told you that Bobby Petrino looked at the film and walked down the hall and said, we are going to boat race these guys. And so that says something. Bobby Petrino is a top. We talk about Lane's amazing, Heupel. There's a number of guys that are really. The dude, Riley's little brother at Clemson. He's a little baller. Dawson's pretty good at Miami, but he goes too fast for their defense. They're trying to slow it down a little bit. You got to know when to go fast and when to, notice what's happening at Miami at the end of the game. And I was watching a high school team a couple weeks ago, and they were going fast for no reason. I thought, what are you doing? You got to know when to accelerate, when to let your defense rest, especially if you're up, which Miami's trying to give away some leads because they're still going fast, which makes no sense. But anyway, back to where I was going. Is Bobby Petrino is one hell of a play call. He can work you. He has worked many of defensive coordinators in the SEC and other leagues over the years. And Sam Pittman told you all you need to know in the post-game press conference on Saturday afternoon. A lot of times coaches will tell you without just, he was like, yep, we saw on tape, which Sam Pittman didn't, but Bobby Petrino did. And Petrino basically told Sam Pittman, I'm gonna put up crazy numbers, and they did. And Taylon Green had the game of his life, 314 yards through the air, Jackson, and 79 on the ground. But Arkansas added another 175 from Russell and another 98 from DeBinion. They rushed for 359 yards. At 9.7 yards per carry. Again, that's high school mismatch numbers, not SEC football numbers. And now the flip side is, I'd like to know what you think about Ole Miss. I'm getting some texts, and look, Ole Miss just kind of looks like a pretty good team. They've got talent on both sides of the ball. Nobody's really dominant this year. They pulled a hell of a schedule. They faced a pretty good offense in LSU, and that's it. Kentucky's offense is awful. They're not even in the top 120 in offensive scoring efficiency. Oklahoma was 108th going in, and South Carolina's not good on offense. So your defense, which is good, has looked even better because you haven't played an offense with a pulse other than LSU, and that night they had no running game, and, of course, Nussmeier pulled some heroics late in the game. And this weekend, even though Mississippi State just made Arkansas, look like a top 3 offense, they're not that going into the game, they were 91st in offensive scoring efficiency, right? So Bartu said something has to give. Either Arkansas and Bobby Petrino's offense at, I think, 91st, or Mississippi State's defense at 121st, and we know what gave. Mississippi State's defense. But I'd like to get an idea of what Ole Miss fans, how do you feel about your team? You got at Arkansas, Georgia at home, at Florida, who's improving, and then Mississippi State at home, which should be a layup. So on the agup.com text line, 601-885-3776. How do you feel about your team? Oklahoma Ole Miss was somewhat close. The first half, very competitive. Oklahoma had no answers in the second half. Pete Golding dialed up the blitzes. He just said, I've had enough. And we're not going to let these freshman QBs do anything. And we're going to dial up the pressure, and we're going to bring it from all different areas and angles and spaces and places. And those guys just totally melted down and couldn't do anything. Oklahoma's defense is pretty good. Ole Miss had to work for those 26 points.
Where do you think they are the overwhelming majority of the fan base is at today?
Well, I think they're happy they're winning, but they already have 2 losses, and they still have Georgia. And Florida's now in play. At Florida is in play. For Florida.
Right.
Should Ole Miss win? Probably go 55%. Not the score. 55-45, Ole Miss, maybe 53-47, but that game's going to be in play now.
So we're looking at 9-3, 8-4 possibly.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're beating Georgia at home next weekend.
So 9-3.
9-3
at best.
Yes.
7-5 at worst.
They're not going 7-5.
8-4.
If
that'd be a Florida loss.
Yep, they'd have to lose to Florida and Gainesville.
Highly plausible.
We're going to see what Florida does. Now, Florida just took a week off.
Right.
And they're a massive underdog. Now, they played like Mississippi State. They played the toughest schedule in the country. And so their numbers are a little skewed. But do you know that they're top 50 in both offensive and defensive scoring efficiency? Do you realize they're 33rd in offensive scoring efficiency?
Wow.
They're not as bad as people think.
Yeah.
They've played some better football. They gave away the Tennessee game.
Right. Yeah.
They had them. I mean, they had Tennessee on the ropes. They just could not put them away in Knoxville. And while Tennessee is not great by any stretch, they got a good football team, man. Heupel like Kiffin can coach. They can coach. And they both have coordinators on the defensive side of the football who know what they're doing. And that's what Ole Miss is winning on. They're winning on defense.
Yeah.
Pete Golding has given the Ole Miss offense every opportunity to be undefeated. He did what he was supposed to do against Kentucky.
Yeah, he sure has.
And he held for a long time in Baton Rouge that night until finally Nussmeier found some magic. It's the offense that's the problem in Oxford. And it has been regressing.
That's crazy.
Well, we were told it was the best receiving unit ever, and the running back room was deeper than deep. And yet they don't look like they're in rhythm.
No.
I mean, it was 14-10.
They haven't looked in rhythm yet.
Well, against Wofford.
I'm not counting
but that doesn't count.
No. Other than those 3 non-cons, they have not looked in rhythm at all.
So the question is, Bartu believes you are who you are right now. You are who you are.
I'll take that.
Now the question is, can they flip this switch and become this potent machine, 5th gear, Lamborghini type offense?
Can they hit the portal?
No, you can't right now. No. Well, yeah, everybody actually is hitting the portal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just not.
They are. They're recruiting players, but you don't get them until December.
Right. No, you can't sneak a guy in there.
There you go. The Out of Bounds Show is powered by Superior Foundation. Do you need French drains or foundation repair? Go local, family owned. Superior Foundation. Superior.ms. Tom Luganbill coming up next on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Tom Luganbill, National College Football Analyst with ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We are the Out of Bounds Show. And your next set of tires and wheels, WeatherTech floor guards or toolboxes powered by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck, 3 locations in Gluckstadt, in Flowood, and Pearl. ricksprotruck.com, the #1 Jeep truck accessory stores in the state of Mississippi. Tom Luganbill on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Hey, Lugs, we talked about it during the offseason, and to date, Mike Elko is my SEC Coach of the Year. How about that performance by A&M against LSU Saturday night, my man?
Well, it's a real program, apparently. Listen, how many years have we been talking about what this program should be, right? When you consider the resources, the facilities, the endowment, the recruiting base, everything you can possibly think of to have the resources to be a championship level program, there is not one that this program is lacking. So we've all been scratching our heads for the last 15 to 20 years trying to figure out how is this program 8-4 or 7-5. And where I think Mike Elko deserves a ton of credit is I think you've got to go back to this past offseason. And when he started going through that roster, the number one thing he had to do, and it wasn't going to be easy decisions. He had to go to all of those guys that were all high profile, that everybody said had been bought, and, you know, what's their allegiance to the program, and basically say, hey, guys, we're going to do things a certain way here. And it's going to have nothing to do with name, image, and likeness. I don't care how much money you've made. I don't care how much you've been promised. But there's going to be a certain way we do things. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine, right? Go ahead and find another place to go to. But if you are going to be here, it's going to be about Texas A&M. It's going to be about the team. It's going to be about competing for championships. And we're going to hold you to a standard that is non-negotiable. And the players that chose to stay are why this team is in the position that they are in. Because now, all of a sudden, this group of players sees the bigger picture. And it's because of performance, and it's because they haven't wavered from the standards.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the difference between this Texas A&M and the one we've seen the last 15 to 20 years. I think the players actually care about what happens at Texas A&M.
Well, it was, I agree with you, and it was a hell of a win. And they figured it out. And Marcel Reed comes in and really works that LSU defense. And they look, you know this. You played quarterback at a high level. You played Power 5 quarterback at Georgia Tech. You started. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. Nussmeier is still a very, very talented young man, and he's still going to have days where he drops 3 or 4 tutties on people. But some nights it doesn't go your way. And you know this, Luke, because you run the numbers on all these kids coming out of high school. A&M has real dudes on the defensive side of the football, and they played well late in the game.
Oh, yeah. Well, they play well late in the game, and again, they're playing collective team defense because it's not all about individuals. It's not all about, well, what do I get if I do this, right? Somehow Mike Elko has gotten rid of that me, I mentality, and the team has bought into the accolades and the attaboys and the exposure that comes through winning, right? At the end of the day, why do you think there's all of this attention on A&M right now? Not because of one person's individual effort or this person, because they're winning. That's where all the attention's coming from. Well, why are you winning? Because you're doing what you're coached to do and what you're asked to do, and you're not wavering from the standard. And I just think that they've got some ingredients, as you referenced, good football players, but not just good football players. Weed out the ones that were really good football players maybe, but didn't want to do it the way Mike Elko wants to do it. So if you remove that element, and now you've got really good football players that are going to do that, That's the secret sauce right there.
It is. Tom Luganbill on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Spring Street Cigars in Starkville and Spring Street Cigars in Oxford. Both have smoking lounges, premium sticks, beautiful humidors, super places to hang out any day of the week, but definitely on game weekends. All right, Show, I got to go to Oklahoma and Ole Miss. 26-14, Pete Golding dominated the Oklahoma offense in the second half. I mean, this team looks like a solid to pretty good team. I don't think they're special. I mean, they may flip the switch this time of year. I kind of believe you are who you are at this point. But, again, Golding was a great hire by Lane. And this offense was ranked 108th in offensive scoring efficiency going into the game. And they're just not that good. Oklahoma's pretty good on the defensive side of the football. What was your takeaway from Sooners Rebs?
I thought it wasn't easy, but they found a way to win, which is a real positive, right? It was, at times it was a bit sloppy. I thought early in the game they kind of had to adjust a little bit because Oklahoma did some nice things actually on offense that they probably weren't expecting. But then at the end of the day, they just kind of kept chipping away and outlasting Oklahoma. And there's a part of me that feels like Oklahoma's just, right now, they're gassed, they're outmanned, and they're a little bit shell-shocked. And so what happens is self-doubt seems to creep in. If things don't go well, you have the, oh, here we go again mentality. And I think that is kind of a cloud that has settled over the Oklahoma program because it's been a tough, real tough last 3 to 4 weeks. And Ole Miss was able to take advantage of that. I think the game this week at Arkansas is going to be a barn burner.
You think Arkansas can play with them?
If the quarterback at Arkansas stays healthy, yes, because he is a problem. I mean, he's a handful in and outside of the pocket. I just think it's an intriguing matchup. Not one I'd take for granted, I'll tell you that much.
No, Ole Miss, Arkansas-Ole Miss series, Arkansas's 13-2 in Fayetteville. Ole Miss hasn't won up there since 2008. And as you know, Lugs, they have taken some damn good football teams up there with Freeze and Kiffin and walked out of that stadium with a loss. So things can get weird up there in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough place to play. And right now, obviously they've battled some injuries, but they're hanging in there. I think Arkansas is a little bit like Vanderbilt in the sense that you really don't want to play them. You look at them and you say, we should beat these guys, but I don't know if I really want to be playing these guys. That's how I look at Arkansas.
I think that's fair, actually. It's a good way to frame that up. Tom Luganbill, National College Football Analyst with ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I was at the game on Saturday where Mississippi State was blown out. You're right on Taylon Green. I mean, I'd watched him on TV, and I know MSU's not good on defense, but he is impressive, Lugs. I mean, he is really, really athletic. He's not like a super refined passer, but Bobby P. Petrino can say what you want about him, man. That guy can scheme some stuff up and get some people open.
Well, and he was able to coach Lamar Jackson into being a passer.
Good point.
Not just a runner, right? So he could do it with a variety of different styles and traits that the quarterback brings. And, listen, he's always been able to dial up scheme and get people open and things of that nature. But I think where he's really good is coaching the quarterback, like getting the best out of the quarterback. And that means if you got to utilize his legs, utilize his legs. If they're going to load the box, all right, let's say it. Let's throw it and find a way to get our best people on your worst people. I think, that's a staple of Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. Okay, so Alabama takes care of business. Did that surprise you that they just they shut out and blew out Missouri over the weekend?
It didn't surprise me. And listen, in all fairness, and I don't want to take away from Alabama because there was significant improvement in that contest in all three phases of the game from what we saw, previously against South Carolina and Tennessee. But Missouri had no shot once Brady Cook was out of the game. And once that blood was in the water, Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator at Alabama, just pinned his ears back and they came after Missouri and just made it miserable all day long. I mean, Alabama's forced 14 turnovers in the last 5 games, right? And now they got the run game going a little bit. Is it perfect? No. Is Jalen Milroe a little bit out of sync? I think so. I also think he's banged up because he doesn't look like he's got the burst and the explosiveness that we've become accustomed to seeing with his legs. But they've got a bye week, as LSU has a bye week, and then they're going to face off against each other in what is going to be a college football playoff elimination game. And that is what's starting to get really, really crazy is we're going to get into the first 2 to 3 weeks here, and you're going to have Georgia, Tennessee as an elimination game. You could have Alabama and LSU as an elimination game. There are going to be some matchups that are going to change the landscape of the college football playoff.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now in Baton Rouge, Bama at LSU. Florida's numbers have gotten a lot better. As far as offense and defensive scoring efficiency numbers, they are better now. I mean, they're a massive underdog this week in the cocktail party. I went to that game a couple of years ago. That thing's wild. I was not expecting them to be able to pull that off, Lugs, on a neutral field, that kind of atmosphere and tailgating and so on. But Georgia's laying 16.5. Is that too many for you?
I think it's a little bit too many. And what they may be counting on is Georgia dominating up front and forcing DJ Lagway into some bad decisions. And if those bad decisions were to turn into points, or you have a pick six or something, that might be the difference between it being, 9 and 16 from a points perspective. I actually think Florida's playing pretty decent football. They took Tennessee to the wire on the road. They handled Kentucky. They look like they're doing better. Nobody's paying attention. I think that Billy Napier actually deserves a little credit. The schedule is obviously brutal. We've talked about that going back to last year. The question is, does Florida have enough in the tank to pull an upset versus Georgia and then be able to do it again the following week? I think they've got another big one the following week.
Okay. I'd love for that to be a good game. That'd be a ton of fun to go into the second half. We'll see if Florida can, like you said, we'll see if Lagway, that's a lot on Lagway as a young player to go against Kirby and that and Schumann or Schulman or whatever his name is, and that Georgia defense. It seems to, when they want to really play, they can hurt your feelings. Hey, so Freeze got the big win against Kentucky, and now they host Diego Pavia this weekend at 11:45 game our time, Vanderbilt at Auburn. And I know Hugh's not going anywhere, but man, even with Vanderbilt's resurgence, and look, they played pretty damn good football against Texas, but Auburn can't afford to drop this one, Luke's, but they could.
No, they absolutely could. And to be honest with you, they're probably not the better team, Auburn. Now, they might have better athletes top to bottom, but they're not playing as a better team than Vanderbilt is right now. And that would be concerning to me if I was an Auburn fan. Auburn can't worry about Vanderbilt. Auburn has to capitalize and build upon the positives of last week.
Yes.
The fact that you got Jarquez Hunter the football a lot, and that you outgained Kentucky in the second and third quarter 200 yards to 36. And that in the third quarter you had 14 plays, the first 14 plays on offense, Jarquez Hunter touched the ball 10 times. Those are building blocks. And they defensively, DJ Durkin did a really nice job affecting the quarterback, whoever it was for Kentucky, whether it was Wimsatt or Vandegrift. But you have to what we've seen to this point was the first time we saw Auburn find a way to actually win a game, not lose a game.
Yeah.
And you can't go backward. That's what you got to focus on this week.
I want to go outside of the conference with you with Ohio State and Penn State. For our SEC listeners, the reason why we're doing this is one of your teams may face one of these teams in the college football playoff. So you have, I've been to this game too before, and it's wild. Ohio State at Penn State. Ohio State's laying 4. Penn State's 7-0, Lugs, as you know. Ohio State's 6-1. It's an early morning, 11 a.m. kick. And this has college football playoff implications too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think about both of those teams in relationship to being compared to, let's just say, a Georgia or, I don't know,
Texas?
A&M right now?
Oh, A&M. I think they're a notch below. I don't think it's like a huge gap, but if all four are playing at the top of their game, Georgia for sure. A&M, I love what they're doing, but I also understand that Klein and Elko are trying to figure it out at quarterback with Wigman and Marcel, and they're doing a good job. But I'm going to lean Georgia for sure, and maybe a slight lean A&M because of their nasty defense on a neutral field against both of them, Luke. But you've mentioned the Penn State OC, how much you like them, and they haven't played offense since Joe Moorhead left. So this may be a year where Penn State does something.
Listen, this is a put up or shut up game for Penn State, in my opinion, because every gauge and every barometer is whether or not you can beat Ohio State. I don't think they have to win this game to get to the college football playoff. I think that they need to win this game for their own well-being. Mm-hmm. I think they need to win this game to get over a hump, to get over that final hurdle. And all of the pressure is on Ryan Day, right? Because they very publicly pushed all their chips to the table and said, we are going to put together a football team that is built to win a national championship. So now every game mounts with pressure because it's not just about beating Michigan. You have to do everything else right now, too, because that's how you put the roster together, and you spend a lot of money to do it. I cannot believe this game is a noon kick. I think it's the dumbest thing that you could possibly do from a television window perspective. How this game is not a primetime game, I have no idea. And so, listen, for what it's worth, I think Ohio State right now is struggling.
Yeah.
They can't run the football. They were one of 10 on third down last week against a Nebraska team that Indiana put 56 up against. They are a collection right now of really, really good football players and good athletes, some of them at elite level, but they're not playing elite level execution. And that, I think, is a bit concerning.
Yeah, no, this is Penn State's opportunity. I mean, good grief. They haven't beat anybody in like 8 years. So it's time. I mean, they got 9 automatic wins on their damn schedule every year. So, like you said, this is the time to go get it because Ohio State looks vulnerable. In fact, I'm trying to, unless maybe Penn State is that team, Luke's, and maybe Clemson is so off the grid like you've been talking about. They got embarrassed by Georgia, so everybody just forgot about them, and maybe they're going to come along, and maybe Miami. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a team that is an absolute legit national championship contender, can go through 3 college football playoff games outside of the SEC. Not that we necessarily have a super dominant team, but I still like Georgia, Texas, and A&M. What do you see?
Listen, I think that there are flaws across the board that put all of those teams in a position where if they don't play well, they are subject to lose. And in previous years, I don't know if I would have felt strongly in saying that. Meaning that prior to the transfer portal, prior to talent dispersal, prior to thinning out of your depth, particularly your 3s and 4s, if you're amongst the schools you just mentioned, not your 1s and 2s, but your 3s and 4s. Prior to that, those teams like an Alabama, like a Georgia, like a Clemson, or whatever, were so dominant that they could even screw it up and still win the game against a good team. Now that's not the case anymore.
Right.
Do I think that a Georgia, a Clemson, an Alabama, potentially an Ohio State, maybe a Penn State, Texas A&M, are they capable and built for the long haul of what it's going to take to actually get through that gauntlet? Yes. But I think they're more susceptible and more vulnerable to go down to somebody that maybe you wouldn't say would normally beat them than we've ever seen before in college football.
Right. Okay. And Luke's, if I know he's not getting fired, but if Ryan Day goes to Penn State and they lose, and he's yet to really do anything close to what Urban or Tressel did, than the barks and the boos and the, scuttlebutt? Don't you think it's only going to get louder and louder in Columbus?
Oh, there's no question about that. And then if that were to happen, now all of a sudden the Michigan game takes on a whole new light, because that's been the bugaboo, right? That's who they have not been able to beat under his leadership. And it's one of the rivalry games in this world of college football where your job depends on it. It's not like Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, where you don't have to beat Oklahoma to keep your job, right? It's not like Auburn and Alabama. It matters at Ohio State whether you beat Michigan or not, regardless of how you do against the other 11 teams on your schedule. So the pressure on Ohio State, if they were to lose to Penn State, as it results to the rest. And remember, they got Indiana around the bend.
Ooh.
Let's not forget about that.
How about Kurt Signetti, 8-0, and beat Washington? All that hoopla, they could have lost focus and kind of tripped over themselves, threw up on themselves, and they still won that damn game. By the way, I know we've only got a minute here. Matt Rule post-game after the Ohio State. I don't know if you saw the clip, Luke's, because I know you do your Sunday show, so maybe you looked at that. I thought it was – we're going to drop it in the next segment. I thought it was awesome what he talked about as far as that Nebraska football program and how they want to build it and sustain it.
Yeah, listen, I think the thing with Nebraska that we've got to acknowledge is you can play – you can be improved. You can develop and build and supplement your roster, add talent, and show progress, which is what I think Nebraska's doing. All right. But at the end of the day, if you're playing with a true freshman quarterback, no matter how talented he is, to me, you're going to have some potholes in the road. You're going to have some issues. You are going to have some moments where the ball gets turned over and you can't overcome it. So you're going to have to work through those growing pains. It doesn't mean that you're not improving, that you're not better, that you're not building for the long haul. I think we've seen all of that with this Nebraska program. But also Dylan Raiola's got these expectations on his shoulders that are so unreasonable. And you have to understand that there's going to be good with the bad. And that's part of the natural maturation process.
All right. Is there anything – trying to think who's going to be the hottest coach in the country in 4 weeks. Maybe Chadwell. I'm not sure. Florida may not open up. I think Beamer's going to hang on. Hell, I think Pittman's going to hang on. Stoops is going to be fine because they got $50 million on his contract. We may not have an opening in the SEC. All right, we'll hit that next week. Where are you this weekend?
I've got Pitt, undefeated Pitt at SMU.
Holy moly, that's a good game.
Yeah,
Okay.
18 versus 20. And, I had that SMU versus Duke game on Saturday night. SMU turns the ball over 6 times on the road and wins.
Okay. Casey Woods may be the next head coach at Southern Miss. All right, thanks, Luke. See you, buddy.
You bet. See ya. We
are the Out of Bounds Show. We're powered by Superior Foundation. If you need French drains or foundation work, superior.ms.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
You ready?
Let's go!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now live in the Bank Plus studio, where college football meets the all lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds, streaming around the world live at the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
Where are you?
The Zone.
Steve Robertson will join us in the next segment. 9:15. Good morning. Welcome in. We found out something else about Jackson Meadows here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, the Out of Bounds Show. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. He still has a college refrigerator in his room. Now, we don't know how long it's going to make it, because his girlfriend moved in and he told us she doesn't like it. So I did think that, let's see, Michael was funny. Why do college fridges last 30 years and nice brand name refrigerators last 3 years? I think that is a great question. Kyle on the agup.com text. Well, it's true.
And it's so true. Yeah, there's got to be a science to that some way, somehow.
Kyle is on the agup.com text line. Coleman Hutzler must go today.
Ooh.
Can't wait till the end of the season. Have to show. Can't wait till the end of the season. This is unacceptable. Okay, got it. David 3 says there might be 15,000 people in Davis Wade this weekend. Well, I will be one. My daughter has parents weekend on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that. And my son has parents weekend on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you get a whole bunch of these all year anyways.
You only get so many home games. We talk about it all the
6.
time. And I'm going. The weather's going to be great. I had a great time last weekend. And that's where we are.
What was on the tailgate menu?
Well, so here's what my buddy did, because he's kind enough to invite us to his cool box. They do game day pretzels.
Love it.
And then they have pimento cheese to dip in.
Ooh. Wait.
And they're really hot. They keep them in the burner.
Oh.
So, I mean, they're like soft and hot. So whenever you lift up the burner to go get one, a little thing.
What's the burner?
You know, where they keep the food in.
Yeah, okay.
They're kind of in blocks around the skybox.
Yeah.
The pretzels were a home run. And because it was a morning game, he ordered a hash brown casserole.
Ooh.
And
like
I
that.
put a little hot sauce on it.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
we all made
What kind?
Louisiana.
All right. Whew.
Yeah. And that was really good. And then they did chicken and waffles. The waffles were really, it's easy to screw up that food in the club level in suites just because it's mass food. They're all trying to bust their tail. They're paying people $10 an hour or whatever. Okay.
Right.
But the waffles, this is what the waffles were super soft.
That's the way they need to be.
Right. You don't want hard,
No.
crusty,
Char.
T-bone level charred Waffle House 3 a.m. in the morning steak, waffles.
Right.
So they were soft too. Yeah.
Thought you were about to say Waffle House's waffles. I was about to say, hold on now. They do one thing well. Well, they do that and the T-bone pretty well.
Easy.
The T-bone's pretty good.
No, it's not.
For when
The filet I had at Philip M's on Wednesday night, Pittsburgh Rare, was amazing. And the filet we had at 44 Prime on Friday was really, really good.
20-ouncer?
Yeah, it was a 20-ounce special, but they brought it out on a wooden plank
Yeah.
already
Sliced
cut up.
and diced.
So it was perfect, man. Didn't have to do anything. It was balling.
I feel like I could drill. I really do feel like I could drill that. I don't think it'd take very long.
You think you could do 20 ounces?
Oh yeah, fillet.
Dude, I don't think you understand.
That's
That's
pretty
a
large,
lot
isn't
of red meat, man.
I don't know.
I mean, you could,
It
but
hurt.
it
would hurt.
yeah. I mean, we had left over. Nick took some. I mean, he left with a little to-go box. He was going to do steak and scrambled eggs before the game
Love that.
with the Tito's Bloody Mary.
I'm trying to decide where my limit would be. Like I know eight's easy, 10's easy.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that you can smash 10 to 12 ounces of filet.
And be
When we were at Kessler Prime a few weeks ago and we took Pete Lavin out, general manager of the Mississippi Braves, before he goes to Columbus, Georgia, you smashed a 10. Was it 10 or 12?
It was at least 10.
I know it was 10. And you and Pete both ate every bit of your filet,
Oh my god!
like homeless people.
Smashed. That was porterhouse night.
Oh, that's what it was. It was porterhouse, but y'all left. I mean, I ate a little bit.
Right.
Y'all hammered that. There wasn't anything left.
No, there wasn't at all. Oh, we drilled that.
Yeah.
That was a very.
And you
satisfying
didn't order anything to go for your girlfriend, so you're probably in trouble.
Oh man, yeah.
But I'm the one that's amazing because I keep sending you home with Aplos pizzas.
It's been a savior.
So I think she'll probably send me a Christmas card.
Probably so. She reminds me of the.
And then Wendy has
Kessler
sent
deal.
you home with food because she always has this little bitty food over there by the coffee. And she's like, take Jackson as food.
Heater desserts too.
And then, of course, Wally Cummins fed you for 4 days
right.
with sous vide filet, which was divine.
Yeah.
The wings were absolutely mic drop big time.
It's crazy.
And even Wally Cummins said, look, the Two Brothers wings are another level. Wally, I mean, they weren't quite Barton's, but he gave him a run for his money.
Every bit.
And then that Paula Deen's banana pudding was ridiculous because I ate it, obviously, while we were on the show and left it with you because I had to roll.
I could have bathed in
That
it.
Paula Deen's banana pudding was delicious. Now, you give me a glass of, like I had at Louva Wine Room, a combo Cab Syrah from France. Good Lord, that was good wine.
I don't know how in the world that he's not 600 pounds.
Who?
Wally.
That guy can cook.
He can cook.
He can cook.
I mean,
What else do we have here? Brad said, how much banana pudding did you eat? Out of that tray, how much did you eat? Did your girlfriend eat 10%? You eat 90%?
right, yeah, that's probably good.
Because it was like one square out of it, and then I mean, it had to be 8,000 to 10,000 calories.
Right, had it because it was heavy.
Yeah.
That was a heavy piece of dessert. 90-10, that's probably right. Yeah. Because when you get a bowl, I made the mistake the first time. I got a small bowl of it, and that wasn't. I mean, it was probably a normal size bowl for most people, but it was a small bowl for me for my sweet tooth, and I was on the run, so I was, I had it in the car. Of course, we'll smash it in the car. I gotta eat it in the car.
You were eating banana pudding in the car?
Yeah, I mean it was a necessity. I didn't have enough time to eat it there. I had to get out to Gluckstadt. I was running and gunning, so I figured I might as well take it on the go.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't get a big enough bowl,
Oh, here.
so I was I was kind of sad about it, man.
Wally made you your bowl. Maybe you should have made a double.
I probably should have gone double, maybe even triple, because it got attacked when I got there.
It did?
Yeah, well, the people looked at it, they were like, "What is that?" I was like, "Well, I know you like banana pudding, so here, try it." And that was a mistake. Try it, and then I didn't see the bowl again.
So your new nickname may be Snacks.
Love that.
Because you get up at 3 a.m. and you eat leftover Bravo pasta
Oh, that was
or
so-
leftover banana pudding.
Oh, I took Wally's meat and cut it up and put it in the pasta.
Did you really?
So good. It was unreal. And the only bad thing about my girlfriend living there now is that I can't take credit for cooking the food.
The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Southern Ag Credit, financing life outside the city limits. SouthernAgCredit.com and Southern Ag Credit in Ridgeland, Mississippi. Steve Robertson coming up next. We'll talk Coleman Hutzler, Hell State football. All right, Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. This segment's brought to you by Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. Unbelievable selection of pre-owned and new vehicles. I mean, obviously all the Ford makes and models, right? The Ford F-150 truck, the Ford Bronco, the Ford Explorer, and so on. But don't forget that Justin Waite with Mack Hike Ford will buy your car. And he'll come to you. You're at work, you're a nurse, you're an attorney, you're whatever, you can't leave. He will come to your office, your manufacturing facility, wherever. He'll go check out the car and give you a price. Justin Waite will buy your car this week. Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. Call Justin Waite today. That's W-A-I-T-E. Justin Waite with Mack Hike Ford. We welcome in Steve Robertson. Steve, do you expect Coleman Hutzler to be the defensive coordinator this weekend against UMass?
Yes, I do. And I think, what we saw Saturday was completely unacceptable. And there's a part of me, I think, maybe, looking back, maybe State maybe had a game like this coming. And that's, you think maybe you'd graduated from that. You go on the road and play so well at Texas, and you play so well at Georgia. I say play so well. I mean, just an improvement on what you had earlier in the year. And you probably feel like you should have beat Texas A&M. You get a vulnerable Arkansas team that comes in here and they put up 58 points on you. And so it's a real gut punch. And but I think Jeff Lebby will take the full season and look at the totality of things, and he will make a decision at the end of the year. But I know, I can assure you that there is no one in the Mississippi State fan base that is in support right now of what's happening on the defensive side of the football. And those voices are getting louder and louder by the moment.
All right. So did you think that they would bottom out like this, the football program?
No. And, we knew it was going to be a challenging season, right? I mean, we knew that at the beginning. We're thinking, a 6-6 is probably best case scenario for this team. Maybe it's 5-7. And of course, neither of those are a possibility. I guess theoretically you could, but, let's just be honest about it. I mean, this team's not going to win out, but it's not just the defense. I mean, like when you look back on Saturday, and one of the most frustrating parts for me is you have 4 consecutive drives, you get in the red zone, and you come away with 3 points. You can't win,
no doubt,
against winning teams in the Southeastern Conference when you don't cash in those drives. And, one of the things that I go back to is like, and we're Monday morning quarterbacking this, and that's our jobs, right? But first and goal at the 2, and I think if you polled the Mississippi State fan base, the 45,000 people that were there on Saturday, you polled them and said, hey, who runs the football the hardest for Mississippi State? I would say 90% of those people would say Johnny Daniels. And then it's first and goal from the 2, and you have 4 plays, and Johnny Daniels doesn't get a touch. I don't know if Johnny was banged up. I don't know if Johnny needed a bathroom break or whatever. But so I don't know all the details. But that's disappointing to me that the guy that is probably best in short yardage doesn't get to touch football on one of the biggest drives of the game from just 2 yards out of the goal line. That's one of those things I go back at. And so when people say, "Oh, Steve, it's a talent deficiency issue,"
it's not.
Got nothing to do with that's got nothing to do with talent.
Yeah. I could not agree more. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. His board was on fire over the weekend. The Boneyard Podcast. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Somebody mentioned that asked Steve the reason why he's not getting fired is they don't have the buyout. I don't believe that at all. Do you believe that, Steve? That's nonsense.
No,
3 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever it is. What is it?
I mean, come on. I mean, that's and what I think it's just $2 million. Now, we were talking about this yesterday, and I think it's actually, I think he has 2 more years left on the deal. But no, that's not. No, we're not going to be held hostage by that. I mean, if Jeff Lebby wants to make a move here, the money will be allocated to do so. It's not a situation, and that's one thing. So Mississippi State folks have got to move on from this poverty program mindset.
Oh, God.
we got to sit here and stick with people that aren't doing a good job because we don't have the money to buy them out. I mean, there are sometimes that, we don't fire people because what you're hearing's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because like all of a sudden, John Q. Bulldog gets on a message board, hey, here's what I heard from a friend, and it's really just something that somebody made up, and it's wishful thinking. And then they're like, well, I don't understand why this hadn't happened yet. Well, it's because it was only a reality in your mind. I mean, we went through this with baseball the last 2 years. I mean, it's like all of a sudden these sources, everybody has a source until there's something to know, and so, here we are now, and, some people put some things on Facebook and it spreads like wildfire because that's what people want to happen. They want to see a change defensively. And at the end of the day, people put so much of an emotional investment in this, right? And so,
and financial.
You're not getting that, oh, exactly. But then you're not getting the return on that, and it hurts. People just want the pain to stop, right? And so it's like when these things happen, it's like, well, all I know is this guy's responsible for the defense, and the defense is playing poorly, so we got to make a change. And a lot of times those people are right, that the change needs to be made. But ultimately, that's going to be Jeff Levy's decision. I have not lost faith in Jeff Levy. I know there's some people after the weekend. It's like all the goodwill that had been built up over the previous 3 weeks has kind of been erased. I think you got to avoid being a prisoner at the moment. I do think Jeff Levy is going to do a great job here at Mississippi State. But this year, obviously, has not gone, even with meager expectations. State has not been able to realize the potential that they had this year.
Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds show. They need a win, but they need to win comfortably this weekend. Is that how you see it?
Well, I'm just going to be happy to win a ball game. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't go out there and win 10-3. Saying you need to go out there and look like you know what you're doing. And I think that's one of the things you look back at last weekend. It's like, there's just so many things. And again, the defense bears the brunt of it because that's been the issue most of the year, right, is defense. But there's been some other games out there when the offense has not been there. And, there's going to be some up and down with the young quarterback. I mean, that's just life and times in college football. But I thought Mike played good at times, but I thought he had kind of some freshman moments for the first time.
He held the ball too long, and that's easy for me to say because, like you said, he's a freshman and he's playing too early. But he held the ball too long all afternoon, Steve.
He did, and there were a couple times, too, that, he tried to force it in there when he didn't. But that's a guy trying to make a play for his team. You know what I'm saying? And
absolutely.
And he will be better for this experience. And listen, it sucks right now. It does. It's painful. And, I got some friends out there that said, I'm not watching any college football because I don't want to see our score come across on the ticker at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, dude, it's too much fun. I can't give up college football. I love it too much. I love watching the games.
I couldn't wait to get home and watch that LSU Texas
Me neither.
game. I couldn't wait. I thought, this may be a game that determines who's going to play in the SEC championship game. And then, what can you say about Mike Elko in that group? I mean, I really thought, I wasn't sure how good they could be or would be this year. I said, they're probably at least an 8-4 team, maybe 9-3. And you look at them now and like, man, these guys may be the number one seed in the playoffs when it's all said and done. I mean, it's crazy. They control their own destiny.
Yeah, no, he's a hell of a football coach. And it was funny, the shot that he took at Jimbo Fisher Saturday night too. All right, we may do another hit later in the week. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports, and the Boneyard Podcast. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
See you, friend.
All right. That was brought to you by our friends at Louva Wine Room in Starkville, which is amazing. Had so much fun there Thursday. It's brought to you by two brothers and their new sister restaurant, Older Brother, both in the Cotton District, not but 10 yards away from each other. And it's brought to you by Spring Street Cigars, either the nicest or one of the nicest cigar shops and lounges in the Southeast. We're going to have some fun on the other side. I've got some audio for you that you're going to love.